Hello, I'm Gary C. Johnson. I developed a method of representing my clients called judo law. Using judo law, our team set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. No other law firm has even come close. We've had several multi-million-dollar verdicts since then, and guess what? Now, most of our cases settle.
GaryCJohnson.com, 800-337-4002.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson drives for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law of Life provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law of Life with Gary C. Johnson and Keith Casebolt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law of Life, the radio program created by my good friend, Gary C. Johnson. I'm Keith Casebolt. Hello, friend. Good to see you.
It is wonderful, my friends. How's everybody doing?
Happy to be here.
I hope they're not criticizing, condemning, or complaining.
You know, I've got to tell you something. When you pointed out the criticizing, condemning, and complaining, when you start really trying to pay attention to it and look at it, it sticks out like a sore thumb when somebody does it.
That's right, when you see it.
It really does. And you've made the statement before, it doesn't really make the person that's being criticized, condemned, or complained about look bad. It makes the person that's doing it look bad.
Always. So, my friends that listen to this program, they never criticize, condemn, or complain.
It's a law of life.
Because they know.
Yeah, you don't want to do it. Not going to help you.
I was looking at this Roy Williams book, The Wizard of Ads, and I come across a chapter that says, Murphy finally figures it out.
Oh, I
was curious about what that meant.
Yeah.
So he's talking about Murphy's Law.
Whatever can go wrong will go wrong?
Yep. I'm going to read what he said about it. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong was actually Murphy's third law in a series of 11 such observations. To satisfy your curiosity, Murphy's first law is nothing is as easy as it looks. Amen on that.
You know, I only knew the one. I just knew number 3. Nothing is easy as it looks. That's a good law, and that's the truth.
Yeah. And his next 9 make increasingly cynical statements about the nature of the universe and the futility of life, reaching a crescendo in Murphy's 10th law, Mother Nature is a bitch.
I've got to agree with that. We've had some tough times with Mother Nature.
Then he goes on, I'm convinced the immortal Murphy intended to stop at an even 10 laws. But a startling revelation occurred to him in later years, leading him to formulate his insightful 11th law. Here he seems to have found an entirely new perspective. Number 11 causes me to believe Murphy finally figured it out. The real problem with society is people. No, this is not Murphy's 11th law. It's simply my own observation. It seems to me that everyone is frantically searching for someone who can supplement his shortcomings. And in the absence of such a savior, we rage in fury at the cosmos.
Gary, that is good.
You know, it's true.
And it is true, isn't it?
And I'm going to continue reading, my friends. I'm convinced this is why opposites attract. All of us have areas in which we are weak, and we are instinctively attracted to any person whose strengths are in those areas. Conversely, we have no patience with any person who's weak in an area where we are strong. A person who is always punctual has no respect for those who are habitually late. A thrifty person considers a liberal man foolish, and a liberal man calls the thrifty person stingy. Yet the world actually probably needs both of them. Have you ever walked into an establishment and read the sign, a lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part?
Oh, that is so good.
Think about that. How many times have you seen that happen?
Thousands of times where everybody's in a panic because they didn't do their part.
And then he goes on. This is just another indication of how the world is looking for someone who will come to the rescue and of how few of us want to be that person. Not only does every cloud have a silver lining, but it has a beautiful sky above it and a warm earth beneath. The world God gave us is flawless. It's you and I that probably need the work.
Wow. Well said.
And oh yes, Murphy's 11th law, here it is. It is impossible to make anything foolproof because fools are so ingenious.
Is that the true 11th law? Because if it is...
That's Murphy's 11th law.
It's genius.
I'll read it again because it's so true. It is impossible to make anything foolproof because fools are so ingenious.
That is fantastic.
And then he has a quote. Be thankful not only that you are an individual, but also that others are different. The world needs all kinds, but it also needs to respect and use that individuality.
Gary, that quote right there could be the best thing that you've had on a program at the time when it's needed more in what's going on all around us. Be thankful for other individuals and their thoughts.
That's right. Be thankful for their differences and that they are different.
Yeah.
Be thankful that you're different.
And we do just the opposite of that. Now, you hit me there in the middle on the strengths and the weaknesses. And my wife, she has all the strengths that are my weaknesses. I mean, all the things that I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, she does all the things that I'm not good at.
Gosh, she's got her work cut out for her.
There's a list. You wouldn't believe what that woman can do.
I can. I've seen.
Yeah,
I've seen some of the things she could do. She's extremely intelligent.
Isn't that the truth, though? No wonder opposites attract, because we're looking for somebody to fill in that part that we can't do.
And we all have strengths, and we all have weaknesses. I'll say it again. We all have strengths, and we all have weaknesses. We are all unique in some way. It may be a different nose or a fingerprint or whatever, but we're all different.
So you're going to tell us, before we get up on our high horse and we start telling, oh, I'm so good at this, or I'm brilliant at this, you're going to bring us down a little bit by telling us there's a lot of stuff that you're not very good at.
Always that way. It's the way good Lord made us.
And if you're the opposite...
No, you have to think of the design. If he had made everybody able to do everything, you would not have a society because we wouldn't need each other. So he fixed it so that it wasn't that way. Brilliant. I'm going to let this fella be able to do this. I'm going to let this fella be able to do that. This woman's going to be able to do this. This one's going to be able to do that. Therefore, everybody needs each other, and you can have a society.
You know, and I've picked this up from you, but I find myself now, I marvel at things people can do that I simply have no ability to do. I mean, we've got a friend that works on these computers, and in 5 minutes he can go through them and figure out anything. I'm just barely able to move the mouse.
One of my paralegals, Sarah Evans in Lexington, can sit down at the computer with a program and absolutely create an accident scene with the vehicles and everything on it to where you can actually see it happen.
The animation.
The animation.
I was in your office. You said, look at this. And you told me the story. You said the car was coming down the bridge. The truck come over, hit it. Why don't you just look at it? And then all of a sudden, everything that you just told me, I watched in the animation of what happened to that car, and it was so clear to me what happened in the accident and who was at the fault. they say
Now-
a picture's worth 1,000 words. In this case, it was.
If I had to sit down and do that, I'd be 500 years old still trying to get it done.
Another thing you do that I really like, every time we go in to do the television program, as soon as the program is over, Gary gets up and goes to all the guys and goes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you running the camera, without you doing the controls, without you doing the lighting, we would just be sitting here at the table talking to ourselves and nothing would ever get done. But you make it a point to go and to thank every individual that's a part of that broadcast.
It's true. Think about it. There'd be no broadcast if we didn't have those guys there. There'd be nothing. We'd sit there acting like we were handsome and intelligent and all this stuff, which we may or may not be.
Yeah.
And nothing would happen.
We'd just be sitting there alone in a room talking to each other. I get it.
But they have unique skills because they are different individuals than we are. And fortunately, we're able to have them work with us to get the thing done.
And that's what the book is talking about, is that we should be happy and embrace the fact that we all are different.
It was a revelation to me one time that every job there is,
Mm-hmm.
somebody is doing it. Don't you think about that? Think of any job, how menial or how important, some human being is doing it.
If you don't mind, tell the story, because I'll mess it up if I try to tell it. But you were having breakfast, you and Anita, one morning, and I think you said you were having eggs, bacon, and coffee, and you just stopped in the middle of breakfast and said to your wife, Anita, let's just think about what it took in order to get these eggs, the bacon, and the coffee here, and go through the entire process. And you started out from the farmer.
Well, somebody had to have the chickens
Yeah,
and raise them to get the eggs, right?
right.
Somebody had to have a farm to raise hogs
Mm-hmm.
for us to have the bacon. Somebody had to have a farm raising the wheat and the things to make the flour to go in the thing. Then somebody had to harvest those, some human being. Then somebody had to slaughter the hog and to make the bacon and
Skilled
package it.
workers.
Then some truck driver had to haul that to the grocery store. And somebody in the grocery stores or whatever had to take the bacon and put it out there for somebody to buy.
Yeah.
That's just the bacon. And it is amazing to me how it all works.
So there was like 12 or 15 step process. I mean, you went so in depth. Somebody had to make the food for the hog, and you went through everything. And then there's the cash register.
And then the
Somebody's gotta-
coffee and the coffee beans, having to dry them out. And then, I mean,
Yeah.
on and on and on, just for that one situation so that we could sit there and have that meal.
So you're sitting there having eggs, bacon, toast, and a cup of coffee, and yet thousands of people were employed in the process
Of it happening.
of getting that to you. And yet we just walk into the grocery store and go, oh, I'll have a carton of eggs, and I'll have the bacon, the coffee, and the toast, and think nothing about how it happened.
So when any of you get to thinking that you don't need anyone,
Whoa.
think a little bit about it. Think about what it takes to make your car run, to get the fuel for it. Think about the electricity that you're enjoying, all the men that have to do it. And most of all, the most important people of all, think about those poor old fellows that are picking your garbage up. Those are my heroes.
Every week, like clockwork.
Like clockwork, with a smile. It's amazing. Every so often I see the fellows that are picking my garbage up, and they're smiling and laughing. And
As you said one time, you said, Keith, it's like magic.
Mhm.
I take it out there, I put it out in the bin, it's picked up, it's gone, everything's clean.
it's magic.
And you said, that came from a broadcast you and I did years ago. I asked you, Gary, who's the person right now in your life you admire most? And you said, the guy that picks up the garbage
That's
every
the truth.
Thursday. You said without him, the house and the place would be a mess.
The thing I guess I'm circling back around to is what I usually try to talk a little bit about on every program. It's how important each and every one of you folks are. Because there would be no society if you weren't doing what you were doing and making your contributions. And you're a unique individual. You're exactly the way the good Lord meant you to be. And you should be so proud to be part of it all. You should be so proud to be alive. So proud to say, I'm one of them. I'm in doing my part. I'm making it happen.
It's almost like you should be like a peacock. Your feathers should just fly out and say, look at me, I'm here.
You need to understand just how important you are. My friends, those of you that are listening, you need to know just how important you are. It's like I told that little girl that had written a note that said, I have considered killing myself. And I said, that's just absolutely selfish on your part. Well, you're put here on this earth for a reason, and that reason is we would all get a benefit from what you have to contribute. And it's just selfish of you to think you should take it away.
You're actually going to take something away from the people around you.
That's right.
that need you.
And each of you, we need you. Because none of it will work without everybody involved. Therefore, we have a society and a civilization. And we need each other.
And you know what I like best about what you're saying, and I think our friends know this, what you are talking about is sincere appreciation. You're not just giving a thank you. You're sitting there saying, I sincerely appreciate the fact that you're there.
When I was in college, I took a little course on economics.
Mm-hmm.
Boring. Until they got around to talking about the things that it took to make up the economy and how important the consumer was. And I said to myself, now, I'm a pretty good consumer.
That part I can do.
So now if I'm important as a consumer, if I'm important to the economy, I've got a place.
Absolutely. You play the part.
That's right.
It doesn't do anybody any good to have something to sell if you don't have somebody that wants to buy it.
That's right. That's a consumer.
So you got to have both.
So my friends, those of you that are trying to get through life being the consumer, it's okay. You're needed.
Well, it's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got to have every part of the equation or it's not going to work.
The good is worth nothing unless you have somebody to consume it.
No use to have a farm if somebody's not going to buy the chickens or the eggs or the truck drivers. I mean, we've got to have every bit of it.
So I knew I had a place in life when
Amen.
I saw how important the consumers were.
I think the wife may have a place in life, too. My wife. She's pretty good at that consuming.
Well,
Yeah.
very important people.
Absolutely, and needed. The quote, though, that you read at the end,
I'll read it again.
I think in this
It's
time...
by a fellow by the name of Donald Laird. Be thankful not only that you are an individual, but also that others are different. The world needs all kinds, but it also needs to respect and use that individuality.
So, Gary, with that quote, the biggest mistake that we could be making is trying to make people be like us,
Mm-hmm.
think like us, act like us, believe like us. That
Yeah.
quote sums it up and says, stop doing that. Let them be who they are because we need them to be the individual.
And I'm going to read you Murphy's 11th law again. It is impossible to make anything foolproof because fools are so ingenious. That is so true.
That's
His 11th law. He
that's
quit
the-
at 10, and then years and years later, he came up with number 11
He finally figured it out by saying, there's no use in trying. Fools are
to make
ingenious.
something foolproof.
They're going to figure it out.
Yeah. And number 10, I thought was neat. Mother Nature's a bitch.
Well, I didn't even know number one.
Well,
I'd heard it, but I
don't even know what number 1 is, but I can tell you what number 3 is. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
Well, number 1 you read was nothing is as easy as it looks.
Oh, that's right.
And that one really sticks out because how many of us have ever had a project and, oh, no big deal. It'll take...
I put something together.
it'll take an hour. And then 6 hours later, you're sitting there with instructions and missed parts and everything like that. Nothing is ever as easy as it
always mystifies me that every time I put something together, I've got extra parts.
left over. Plenty of them. Yeah. I always just say to myself, they put those in there so you would have extra.
So they knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
In case you lost some of them.
But it's a wonderful world, Keith.
It is.
And it's just wonderful to be alive. And I hope my friends out there are dealing with that little old voice in their head, especially the one that tries to talk negative to them.
It can creep up on you. It can creep up on you. Listen, I caught myself last week.
What?
Yes. I had to say, I call the voice Casey for KC for Keith Casebolt. So I named the voice Casey. So I caught it last week. I had to say, now, Casey, do you really believe what you're saying? Do you really think that's the truth? Do you really think those things are going to happen? Well, if they do, there's nothing we can do about it, so what are we worried about? And I started this whole conversation over. Mm-hmm. And finally, that little inner voice said, we're okay. I was just testing you. Now, people are going to think that I've lost my marbles here.
No, it's true.
But I'm telling you, Gary, it works. Mm-hmm. When you confront the inner voice by trying to be a friend, the lesson that you taught us, stop telling it to shut up. Instead, confront it as a friend and say, let's think about this. Let's look at this. And you have that conversation, lo and behold, those negative thoughts start turning into positive thoughts.
And it actually helps you figure out how to deal with it, rather than a negativity of putting you down to nothing.
Well, first of all, there's no battle. You're not in a battle telling it to shut up and it's working harder against you. Now, all of a sudden, you're working together.
Your inner voice is now helping you instead of putting you down to nothing.
Who wouldn't want that? I mean, it's almost like on this scale. Think if any of you have an enemy out there that is saying bad things about you, what if that enemy switched over and started saying good things about you and encouraging you? Wouldn't that make you feel good?
Yep.
That's what you're talking about. You're telling us that we can talk to that inner voice and have it flip over and start telling us good things instead of bad things.
But if you fight it and start confronting it in a way that you're saying shut up or whatever, it won't work. Used to, I said do that. I was wrong.
Well, you know what I figured out about that too? It doesn't necessarily fight you back at the time. It waits until you're off guard, and then it comes back and gets you if you do that.
I guess you guys think that Keith and I have gone crazy, right? Well, if you don't have an inner voice talking to you, then it's okay to think we're crazy. But if you've got that little old voice in there that's talking to you, you might want to try to figure out how to deal with it.
What was it?
It will take you down.
Gary, we were doing one of the television programs, and you looked at the camera guy, and you said, hey, do you think Keith and I have gone crazy? He said, you may have, but you both seem to be happy, and it seems to be working, so I'm going to try it. He didn't say that we weren't crazy. He just said that you seem to be happy, and it seems to be working, so I think I'll give it a try.
It's a wonderful, wonderful world, my friends. It's a wonderful time to be alive. Great time to be alive. The best time ever to be alive is right now.
Amen.
And we've got more amenities and things are going great. Just remember, though, we tend to be our own worst enemy.
100%.
And that is the one we need to deal with.
That's probably the hardest thing for us to come to terms with.
That's your biggest impediment to being happy.
because we want to believe it's the boss, it's the people around us, it's society, it's government. Everybody's holding us back. And when you say, Keith, the only person that's holding you back is you, that's tough to deal with.
I don't remember the exact person this was, but this was a story I read many years ago about this guy that was revolting, trying to be part of a little revolt against the king.
Mm-hmm.
And he got caught. And the king sentenced him to death. He was a young man. And just before the firing squad killed him, the king said, no, I'm just going to now sentence him to 10 years hard labor. And he wrote about it later, his experience with the 10 years of hard labor, as what a wonderful, great time that was in his life, and how he thoroughly enjoyed every day, and how exciting it was to do the hard labor and to be there. And someone said, how could that be? He said, look, I could have been dead.
Yeah.
And I was so thankful to be alive that I rejoiced at every day of that hard labor.
So the alternative of death, this guy's waking up and going, give me the hammer and show me the rocks.
That's right. Here
I'm ready to go to work.
I'm ready.
Because he had a reverence for life.
That's right.
That is a great story. My friend, good program. You can catch Gary's television show Tuesday nights on WYMT, your CBS affiliate. 7 o'clock is the time for the show. Also, late-night replays on Central Kentucky on WKYT. And if you start the week early or end the week early on your Fox affiliate in Central Kentucky, you can catch us at 6:30 a.m. on Monday and on Friday. If you'd like to get in touch with Gary, that's Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. My friend, you started this program out with it's good to be here and good to be alive. I give you a good amen to that. It is. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for taking this time to tune in. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for listening to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. You've seen these billboards and ads that say size matters. I agree. The size that matters is the size of the results the law firm gets for their clients. We have several multi-million-dollar verdicts here in Kentucky. In fact, our firm owns the record for the single largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. That's the size that matters to you. In Kentucky, give our firm the call.